I'm a guy that's 26. Each day I build with bricks. I like Star Wars playset. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back in with another video, and this is going to be another episode of the LEGO Star Wars MOC Showcase. This is a collection of some of the most awesome LEGO Star Wars builds that I've found across the internet, so if you see any builds in here that you think are awesome or fabulous, please go support the builders. The links to all these builds will be in the description. Let's dive right into it. The first build we're going to take a look at today is titled Genesis Casino by Darth Bjorn, a guy who has been featured time and time again here on the MOC Showcase and never ceases to amaze me. So right off the bat, I have to say I fell in love with this floor technique right here. I mean, it's not the most complex design, right? It's just a bunch of 2x2 round tiles and some 1x1 tiles, and looks like pearl gold and maybe even like flat gold or metallic gold, but either way, these just look beautiful. The fact that they're slightly askew also just makes the aesthetic of this MOC. In the description of this build, he said he was heavily inspired by Canto Bight, which I think you can very clearly tell, especially by this gentleman right here. And he said he also had just been really wanting to build some sort of casino in Star Wars. And after seeing this, I want to build a casino in Star Wars. This is freaking awesome. So first I have to talk about the color palette here. I think that the usage of gold kind of dispersed throughout, whether it be the floor right here or even these little balconies like on the left side and then over to the right side. I think those are excellent. I want to say they're accent colors, even though they're not really accent colors, because there's a considerable amount of gold in this build. But I'd say on the walls, they're definitely used as accent colors. Looks like there's a collection of weapons of some sort here on the walls, and then some nice printed pieces. I have no idea what those are from, but they work excellently here. And then of course there's the door, also in gold. This MOC is almost like all gold everything, which is really sweet. Another interesting thing about this build has to be the plant life. You can see that there is like a consistent theme when it comes to the plants here. There's these like black tentacled looking plants. So there's like a few over here, and then there's even like a bigger one up in the corner over here, which I think is really interesting. That's something I feel you don't really consider when it comes to interior builds, right? The fact that the plant life is going to be probably heavily influenced by just the local plant life on whatever planet you're doing. So it is kind of cool that, you know, he's brought that just little, I don't know, pretty neat detail, but made it consistent throughout an interior build where you're not really considering, you know, what the local vegetation might look like. So I think that's awesome. Next up, let's talk about the bar over here. I think this is just a nice collection of various drinks right here. And he's using a lot of like those transparent pieces, and even like the transparent pyramid piece, the 1x1, which is great for like a unique looking bottle top. And of course, we gotta have the blue milk. That's like a staple for any Star Wars beverage collection in a MOC. And there's a nice little window behind them. Looks like he's digitally inserted a planet behind them, which makes me think that maybe this building is either some sort of spaceport, or they just have like a screen, like a hollow screen on the walls to make you feel like you're in space. I could imagine some upscale establishment doing something like that in the Star Wars universe. Final thing I want to discuss here has to be the minifigures, because boy is there some diversity here. So right off the bat, I mentioned this guy with the red palm bloom, obviously the dude from The Last Jedi, at least inspired by him. And next to him, I find this hilarious. We have like a Max Rebo type alien with some red robes on, and it looks like he cut the Lego ring piece to fit around his ears. So my boy Max Rebo sporting a gold earring, which is fly as hell. We see a considerable amount of Zabrak creatures around here. So there's this guy right here, and even this woman over here, and there's just such a great variety here. We even have a Sarian female right here. We got a Twi'lek over on this side. We got a couple of Togrutas as well. We got an Ugnaught over here playing whatever game they're playing right here. And then we have this little performer right here. I don't think she's supposed to be any discernible Star Wars species, but it still just looks very cool, very reminiscent of the band that we see playing on Dryden's Yacht and Solo: A Star Wars Story. We even got a guy sporting the head from Coleman Trevor over there in the corner. I could go on and on about the minifigure diversity in this MOC, but I love it when builders just really show that they have a concern for sprucing up a MOC, not only with build techniques and designs, but with the attention to detail when it comes to minifigures, because a build like this is, you know, pretty awesome looking, obviously. Like, I think it's very aesthetically pleasing, just honestly on the color palette alone, even if we're ignoring the specific build techniques he used to get there. But the minifigures themselves take this to a whole nother level. It just keeps me coming back and just looking closer and closer at this build to observe the various details that he's integrated into the minifigures here. So altogether, this is just such a lovely build, and I think for me it's just really inspiring, because I mean, I've kind of gone back and forth with potentially doing like a Canto Bite MOC sometime down the line, but this is might be the push I needed to really take a step forward. And even if I don't do necessarily a Canto Bite MOC, to do something like this, you know, a little Star Wars casino, because I think casinos on Earth are cool, and I think the idea of a Star Wars casino is even cooler. Next up, we have a build titled Cloud City Diorama MOC by a builder by the name of The Creator. Right off the bat, I have to mention, if you want to build one of these, he actually sells the instructions to it. So you can go ahead and put one of those Cloud City dioramas in your own collection. And the link is going to be in the description of this video, right next to the link to the actual build. But I always make it a point to highlight builds like these. If you've watched this series for any period of time, you know I'm always talking about how you can use these small, relatively contained builds as effective ways to display your minifigures. You know, you can always throw minifigures on a shelf, or even use those 3x4 black stands that Lego includes in like the CMF series, but nothing shows off your minifigures better than having a nice scene to display them in, and I think that that is exactly what he has achieved here. So ignoring the minifigures for a sec, let's talk about the actual build. The nice thing about it is it does look like something that you could easily put on a shelf. It doesn't have too much depth to it, which is awesome. I think that's one of the biggest things you'd want to look for in a build like this. Over to the right side, we see some nice little panels. There's a console that one of the Cloud City guards are typing on. And there's also some of that, I don't even know what you call it, but there's that wall decoration that we often see on Bespin. Those little gray 3-length bars are representing that. There's a nice circular window that this guy is looking out of, which is, I don't know, kind of cute and kind of serene. I just imagine he's just, you know, imagining what a better life might look like, just looking out into the horizon, similar to the way that Luke looks out to the horizon in that original Star Wars movie. Over to the left, we have some nice Bespin wall art. That's the best way I can explain it, but we see this all over the place in Bespin, and I love the piece choice that he's gone with here. He's using those like 2x2 tiles with the hole in them, some white sandwich tiles, and just various curved white elements to represent that Bespin wall art. And I think it looks awesome. It looks very clean, like there's not a ton of studs there, obviously, and we can see that it's actually mirrored over here on this side, but I don't think it's exactly mirrored. I think that the designs are all somewhat unique in their own respect, but altogether it looks really cool. And I also like that the fact that there's this nice like light bluish gray trim going around all of these squares. That's a just very nice and clean looking building technique right there. And then over to the far left, there is this dark orange door that also looks pretty cool. I actually have a video of it. This does actually go up and down. It has a mechanism connected into it, so if you wanted to, I don't know, put Vader preparing his dinner for his guests on the other side of this door, you could do that. I don't know, whatever the heck you want to put, you can put on the opposite side of this door. So that's just a really cool thing. And then the other thing I have to mention is just the minifigures in this thing. Like, there's so many figures all throughout this. You know, we got Bespin guards, we got Cloud City card pilots, we got my man U3PO, got a couple Ugnaughts chilling over there by the door. And then, of course, we have Lando giving a tour to his friends in the facility. So altogether, I think this is just a very awesome build, and I wanted to promote this because I think a lot of people who may have, you know, the figures from the Cloud City set, or just some Cloud City figures in general, and you're, I don't know, didn't really want to have to display the big betrayal on Cloud City set. I know a lot of people have complained about the displayability of that set. I think you could build something like this. It's far more contained, but still gives you a ton of space to display all the necessary figures. Like, you could even throw like Luke and R2 maybe hiding around one of these corners, or, you know, somewhere on this side of the hallway. So always love to promote things like this where people can effectively display their minifigures. Now, speaking once again of displaying minifigures, this next build is titled Duel on Mandalore. It's by StarMax. Now, when I initially selected this build to review here on the MOC Showcase, I didn't really intend to go as hard on the minifigure display concept, but like when I just pull up this picture, I realized that these three figures are all from one set, and I think that makes it just another awesome candidate for the point I was making before. You know, if you bought that Mandalorian Starfighter set and you wanted a cool way to display these figures, this is also a way you can do it. Like, it's a cool, very obviously like Mandalorian architecture inspired building, and there's a nice little battle scene. Like, you can actually, you know, make use of the jetpacks and have these guys, you know, suspended in midair. And you even have the third guy up here just overlooking this little battle that's happening between Gar Saxon and Bo-Katan. And I think that is awesome. Like, this is such a cool, creative way to display these figures, and also just, you know, have some cool looking Mandalorian architecture. So let's talk a little bit about that. The Mandalorian architecture is often characterized by, you know, these dark gray colors and light gray colors with some trans blue windows. And I feel like because, you know, the color palette is just mostly grayscale, it can be really easy to just make a very monotonous and not super visually interesting building. But I think this guy has just done an incredible job at this. Some of the particular details I really like about it is this balcony right here. I think this just looks nice. These ingot pieces just are nice little accent pieces to give what might ordinarily just be a flat gray wall a little bit more texture, so that's cool. I also did like this little window assembly right here. And this is pretty simple, right? Like, he just has these 2x2 jumpers with a dark gray tile here, but strategically integrating the light grays and the dark grays in here just gives it another level of texture. So if you're considering building a Mandalore MOC, I definitely say, you know, try to use the light grays and the dark grays to your advantage. I think, you know, if you go with either one, you can maybe end up with something that isn't so visually interesting. But if you use both, you know, you can get some nice little details like these, especially the way he's like wedged these cheese slopes in here to get these triangular shapes. If we go further down, we can see the nice little window assembly down here. And I think that also just looks cool. I mean, there's not really too much to talk about when it comes to like the level of difficulty with the detail, but it's just a nice looking window, you know, and these like dark gray stripes that are bookending these light gray sections in here. It just looks cool. It just all flows so well together, you know. He's also making nice use of these masonry bricks. That's another thing you can do to make a gray wall not look so boring, because there's these indentures right here, right? So once again, it just gives you more texture, and when you're building in these grays and you want to have that just next level of texture. I also think this windows over here look pretty cool. Just the 1x1 pieces with the vertical clips. A nice little accent piece. So I really just say all this to help anyone who's, you know, doing a Mandalore build or any Star Wars build that's a lot of gray. Use the texture to your advantage. Obviously, like pieces like these masonry bricks that, you know, give you some indentions, pieces like these ingots right here. Once again, just they take your build to the next level, gives it more texture, and just overall makes it a lot more visually interesting. And then while you're at it, throw in some cool looking minifigs right here, right? Like, this is, like I said, just an awesome way to display these minifigures, and also to make use of the jetpacks by having them suspended in the air. Now, the final build we're going to take a look at today is titled Coruscant Underworld by Hypolite Bricks, another constant contributor to the LEGO Star Wars MOC Showcase. And where do I even begin? There is just so much to tackle here. I guess I can start with the thing that stuck out to me the most just initially when I looked at this photo. And he's making very nice use of mosaics all throughout this build. Like there's a considerable amount of graffiti like this down here. This is, I'm assuming, like maybe a Duris or even a Chiss. I'd assume it's probably a Duris. We have what looks like a stormtrooper down here with some red spray paint around it. I don't know, maybe he's supposed to be on fire, or maybe it's a bloody decapitated stormtrooper head, who knows. Down here it looks like we got some galactic basic, which is always kind of cool. I know there's always someone here who knows how to translate this, so please let me know what the heck that's supposed to be saying. And then up here we have this giant Twi'lek mosaic, which is awesome. I mean, one, because Twi'lek, and two, because it looks cool, and it's just not something you see very often in Star Wars builds. The colors, the blues and the reds and the dark reds here really help make this build pop, and I love it. I love that, you know, graffiti is like a constant theme kind of all throughout this build. I think that's great. I'm assuming the top one's probably not graffiti. I don't know, maybe this is just some advertisement for Twi'leks. I don't know, it could be graffiti, who knows. But either way, it looks freaking awesome. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty details about this thing. Down to the bottom left, we have this cool speeder here, and it looks like there's actually like lights in the headlights of this vehicle, which is kind of cool. Sneaky little detail he's added in there. One of the other things that you'll notice throughout this build are the usage of like snot techniques to kind of show off weathering. So you'll see these like brown patterns right here to show weathering on the walls. There's some across like the ground here, even some old gray in there to once again show off a little bit more weathering. And I think that's just awesome. Like that's so just cool. It adds another level of detail into the build. As we move further across the build, there's just random crates and such kind of littering the streets here. One interesting thing here is he's using these 1x2 cheese grater slopes, but he's using them upside down to show off some, I guess, detail in the streets here, just some ventilation or whatever. And I think that's cool. I think that might be the first time I've personally seen someone use that upside down in the ground of a build. So I think that's kind of cool there. We got a couple of Rhodians right here. I want to say that they, I don't know, might be homeless. They might be just beggars asking for money. But the way this guy's sitting tells me maybe he's meditating. Maybe these dudes are like running a scam where they like, I don't know, get you in touch with your inner self for a couple of Republic credits. Who knows what's going on there. Over on this side, we have that graffiti that I mentioned earlier, a few more cargo crates, and another technique that I always love when people do is they have these, you know, bricks that are recessed by half a plate, or I guess more like half a stud, into the wall. Just adds a bit more texture to the wall. It kind of makes it look like, I don't know, layers of it have potentially like peeled off of the wall, so to speak, or just the wall sustain any type of damage. It just looks cool. Over to the top right, I love this with the rim, and then that might be like the steering wheel piece with those 1x1 clips connected to it. That makes a nice looking vent looking piece right there. We have a couple of stairs that lead you up to the next level of this build, and we're greeted by a couple of Trandoshans. And I also have to mention, because there's so much to talk about in this build, it's hard to really just focus on one thing extensively, but the minifigs in this MOC are also just awesome. Like you'll notice, you know, whenever there's species, he tries to at least add a little bit of variation here. So he's using, you know, the olive green Trandoshan here and the sand green Trandoshan here to, one, represent that they're the same species, but two, still just give them their own identity in that respect. So that's another just cool little subtle thing you can do. And then also, if you did notice, he did the same thing with the Rhodians down here. He has the one with the dark eyes and the one with the blue eyes. So yeah, like even if you're using, you know, similar heads to represent the same species, you can still do little creative things like that to still give every individual person in the MOC their own identity. You can't really see this because it's at a weird angle, but I love this little like hollow screen projector right here that's just jutting out of the wall. He's using those like 2x2 like scaffolding pillar pieces, and I don't know, there may or may not be a light in here that could just be an effect of the photo, but it looks really cool. I'd love to see if there's an actual like image or something sitting in there, and either way, it is just very obviously Coruscant inspired. Like that just screams Coruscant, that screen right there. So moving up to the third level of the build, you can see also just still some just great greebling in here. You know, nothing super complex, but just details you can add to a MOC to make it look better. And then this third level is kind of where it's a little bit more populated. So we got some Twi'leks over here. Once again, two different kind of Twi'leks. Got the male one and the female one. Looks like she's waving at your boy, trying to holla at him. We got a couple of dudes over here chilling on these steps. We got, looks like an Ugnaught with a bunch of droid pieces. He might be just selling off those parts. And then over to the right, we got just some more people doing stuff over here. I know that that's so descriptive, right? People doing stuff. But this section in here, I love this. I love that there's like this little, I don't know, kind of like low-key bar area. There's even, you know, a somewhat dim light, just giving it a little bit of brightness, but not too much, because once again, this is Coruscant. Things are pretty low-key down here in these lower levels, but I love it when MOCs are given this level of depth right here, where, you know, there's obviously things going on outside of the build, but it just makes it feel so much more lively when there's like rooms built into it, especially when you integrate lighting. So hopefully you guys understand what I mean by that. I think it looks awesome. Up towards the top, I assume we have what could just be more Arabish. Once again, Arabish translators, please come out, let me know what this man is trying to communicate with me. Another holographic screen right here with some lights in it. Once again, just screams Coruscant. And I love this window design over here. I'm not sure if this is, so I feel like this might be just like a trans black or trans clear bricks right here with that kind of neon green light illuminating the back side of it, and that looks really cool. And he's once again using that same technique he used on the other side of the build with the rim and the steering wheel to represent some nice wall detailing there. But I don't know, this green right here, especially when you just like look at the MOC pulled back, that just kind of ominous green glow right there really looks cool. I'm sure there's plenty more things I could say about this build, because there's just details everywhere. Like there's just so much to really look at and enjoy about this build. But I think that like this is why I love LEGO Star Wars, right? This is why I love MOCs. This is why I love reviewing builds in this series, because there are people out there who are just creating MOCs and telling stories just from a picture. Like there's so many different things you can deduce about like what's going on here in this environment just from this one picture, just from the way minifigs are placed, just from their facial expressions, just from these small little details. And I love that. I always say, you know, in MOCs, my goal is always to tell some sort of story. And whenever I see MOCs like these, like I can appreciate it when other builders are trying to do the same. And that's going to finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out these wonderful MOCs. If any of them particularly stood out to you, please go to the description, click on the links to the builders, and go show them some support. They absolutely deserve it. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.